All right, there we go. In 3, 2, 1. Welcome everybody to SwingBadder episode number 9. That's right, number 9. And with me is my co-host, my one, my only Todd Lemieux, my eldest brother. How you feeling today, Todd?
I'm feeling very Timmy Trumpet. I'm feeling $102 million. I'm feeling so much better about one inning every game where Diaz comes running out of the tunnel for the next 5 years. Maybe at the point he comes out of the tunnel in a wheelchair. Doesn't matter. I don't care. You want to know why? We locked him up. Because the Mets know what's important. You know what's important? Getting over the $300 million a year hump. You got to have goals in life. Not winning a World Series, it's getting over the $300 million a year hump. And that's what we're doing.
I'm glad that's the goal, because I don't think winning is going to be the goal. But $300 million, yeah, you're going to be there. I believe I've seen some things, some action there in the offseason with the Mets. That was a huge signing for them. They were very concerned about locking up a closer, which again has worked out so well for individuals like Chapman. Trying to think of other big names that really did well this postseason as closers. I know the Padres had.
But do you want to get into the Diaz signing and just start there?
Yeah, let's just start there.
Okay.
Diaz signing. We're in the off season. Welcome everybody. Welcome to SwingBadder. What we do is we look for the worst contracts that you could find. We'd like you to vote on them at our website. We want you to look at them and tell us, who do you think was the worst contract out there? So we're going to get a bunch of fresh new ones without any stats to back it up. So we'll be able to evaluate based on past performances and based on what other people did. Why don't we do a deep dive into the Mets signing their closer, who he became their closer this year, I believe, right? That's your team, Todd? That's not my team. We don't have a closer for the Diamondbacks. We have a blown save individual. So we would have loved to have had anybody who could get some outs. So your guy closed it out. He made some saves. Now he made some moolah. So how much money is he making? What's the deal look like? Let's dive into it.
Okay, so what I want to do is talk about why this was a good move for the Mets, and let's get into the money, right? So he's got $102 million over the course of 5 years. There is an option for another year, so it could go up to $119 million. But here's the crazy thing. In true Mets fashion, they've deferred $25 million the salary, and they're paying him through 2042, because that's never gone horribly wrong. And thank you to Brett Saberhagen. Thank you to Bobby Bonilla for leading the way on that and showing us how you can defer payments and pay tomorrow what you should have been paying today. Because if inflation keeps up like it is, $25 million is nothing, right? So he's getting $18.6 next year, and that will go consistently through 2027. There's a club option for $20.4 million in 2028, unlimited free agent after that. So where does this contract leave off, and why is this good for the Mets? Contract drops him at age 34. Perfect. You're getting a guy at 28 in his prime, and you can take a look at his stats. Strikeouts per 9 innings. This last year was not actually his highest number of strikeouts per 9 innings. It's 17.1 strikeouts per 9 innings this year. In 2020 for the Mets, when he was 26, he had 17.5. So the guy's strikeout pitcher. He's getting you the inning to an inning and a half when you need it. He had a whip of .839 this year. It's just an insane year just across the board. And a great signing. You don't want a guy with a 1.31 ERA going to another team when you have the cash to sign him, and you want to put a priority on those relievers. Now, who cares if he's a middle reliever at this point? I think when you're looking at what the Astros did in the World Series, which basically dismantled every single team after the 5th inning, with one or two exceptions when they were playing the Phillies, the money in the playoffs is going to be on the relievers. And I think that now that you have Diaz getting this, now you're throwing down the gauntlet to everybody else in the league. What did the Padres do with Suarez? They immediately signed him. So you've got this guy locked up through his prime. He's going to be a Met. We've gone down this road before. John Franco was a closer for us. Sometimes we were on the edge of our seat and it got a little bit dicey, but John Franco was our closer for years. Loved him. It was awesome. I just don't think you're going to see the level of drop off that I think you're expecting, at least in the first 3 years. In years 4 and 5, whatever. But I don't think that you're not signing this guy for years 4 and 5. You're signing him for years 1, 2, and 3 of this contract.
So my concern, okay, positives before I jump into the concerns, because I know you like this trade. He played it tremendously well this year, although I would say it wasn't his best years as a pitcher or as a reliever. That was with Seattle before he came to the Mets with 57 saves. Just dynamite that year. I think that getting to 34 is fantastic. I agree with you. The age is really, really perfect. You get him in his prime. Those are the prime age that you want any kind of pitcher. You don't want him 35 plus, although we have a lot of starting pitchers this year that are 35 plus that are going to get big, big, giant dollars, which will be very fun to watch.
Huge.
My concern with Diaz is 2021 versus 2022. There is a tremendous difference. Now, from a standpoint of just the stats alone, saves, he's the exact same, 32 and 32. He had a 3.45 ERA in 21. 22, it's a 1.31. He was dynamite this year for you. He was dynamite for the Mets on everything. Does he go back to 2021 numbers? Because if he goes back to those numbers, the Mets fans are going to have knife problems and chest issues and that, like, I just had a Coney Island hot dog that don't agree with me very well in the bottom of the ninth, which is going to be terrible, top of the ninth, when they're home.
Listen, there's an argument to be made. There's an argument to be made that in every odd year that he pitches, his ERA ends up above 3.
That's very true. That is
next year's an odd year.
Shockingly, I'm looking at the same thing you are. Obviously, I think the biggest thing is does he have the composure to pitch within the year that he's in and not think I'm pitching for $102 million. The biggest issue I've always had with these massive deals, it doesn't matter how good or bad you are. Look at like Corey Seager this year. Huge deal with the Rangers, just did not have it, wasn't himself. You have to let baseball come to you. It's a rhythm game. It's a durability game. And when you're in that zone where you're just trying to play for a 162-game season, if you're trying to earn that entire contract that first year, which a lot of players do, it's human nature, you're not going to do it. Now, this is why the 35-plus starting pitchers, I think, are going to be very, very interesting because the majority of those folks have already had a big, massive deal. Kershaw's, for instance, the Verlanders, things like that. But Diaz, from a closer perspective, you're talking about a 5-year deal. I don't like closers for long deals. I know he's in his prime. I would have liked to have gotten him for 2 or 3 years. I'm almost 100,000% positive his agent was like 5 years or you're not getting him. So clearly the Mets had to play if they wanted him. So they played and they got him, and I hope it turns out well for him. Maybe they get 2-3 years that are really great out of him, and you go after the starting pitchers to align with Diaz, and that's a real push. Like, you got to get back these starting pitchers that just walked away, because that's the biggest concern now for the Mets.
But you have to sign him for 5 years, because guess who's waiting to sign him for 5 years that loves relief pitchers with theme music? The Yankees. And one thing Steve Cohen is not going to allow is his guys going across the Bronx and walking out to theme music, right? So let's just talk about relief pitchers for a second, because you had Suarez from San Diego is now signed for 5 years, $9 million a year. Okay. He's 32. So now the Padres locked him in until he's 37. Does that violate your, we want to keep you around to your 34, 35 rule?
I don't like that. I don't like that at all. But the Padres have a couple relief pitchers. I mean, they're going to get Josh Hader back. He's 29 and he's in arbitration. So they're going to get him back. He's 29. So they have options. Suarez could be a middle reliever, just a highly paid 8th inning guy. There's a lot of those guys out there. And the Padres are certainly the likes to say Diaz gets 100, Suarez gets 50, he's eighth inning. We're going to give Josh, and when he becomes an unrestricted free agent, that 5-year deal, then you're closing up your bullpen. Now, I mean, it's pretty nutty. This is going to be a nutty offseason. I couldn't believe how many players have opted out of their $20 million deals, to be honest with you. I think that's been
who are some of the ones that were shockers for you that opted out?
I mean, I think Walker was the Mets guys are just, I mean, I get it, but I don't. I mean, Verlander, he's 39 and he's opted out of $20 million guaranteed, which means he's expecting to get 30 plus next year. Kershaw.
How does Verlander, but talk about Verlander for a second, opting out. How does Verlander not opt out?
I don't disagree with you, but it's just.
Scherzer's 39 and getting $43 million a year. How does Verlander not
Scherzer
opt out?
changed the game. Scherzer changed the. When you change the game like that, all these pitchers are looking at that saying, that's your. Listen, Scherzer's 40 million, I'm 30. I'm 35. Like, you have Walker who's going to get probably 20 plus. I think that's nuts. It's even nuts for me to say Walker gets 20 plus. I just think that's crazy. Yeah, I think Kershaw's going to get 20 plus. Kershaw may get 30 just for a 1-year deal. And then Verlander's going to get 35, 40. I mean, he just came off one of the best years he's ever had in baseball, going to win the Cy Young, and Houston's going to want him back. These owners have the cash. These players are not opting out because their agents and these owners are not bleeding or leaking information that they're going to not get picked up for massive dollars. Like, you want
what are you buying Verlander for? At what price do you buy Verlander?
The Astros just won the World Series. The Astros just did an odd thing to me too with the GM. The GM, they offered him a 1-year extension, and he said he wanted a longer term, and they said bye. So they literally walked away from their general manager because he did not ask he wanted a longer term deal. And they said no. And they just won a World Series, which is unheard of because usually you got that World Series vibe. Everybody gets money. We're all good. Everybody's happy. Yeah. So the Astros literally said no to their GM. So he's gone. And now what does Verlander do? Does he come back and say, hey, I'm not going to give you a World Series discount? He shouldn't. He's going to take top dollar. So the teams that have the money that want a starting pitcher to get over the hump, I love them. You love them. We all love them. Our brothers, moment of silence, as we always do, real briefly. In Texas, love them. The Texas Rangers are by far the most desperate guy on the block. You know, the guy that goes to a club that hasn't seen a girl, gets the bottle table service, spends all the money,
holy cow,
hopes that anybody talks to him, has bad breath, hasn't shaved in a while, doesn't look good, is balding, receding hairline, little overweight, well, a lot overweight. We'll say 300 pounds. That's the Rangers. And they go in the club. They're super stoked. They got tons of cash. The Rangers.
A couple bottles of Cristal.
If you're Verlander, you stay in Texas. You go from Houston to the Rangers. Not a bad move. You keep all the state taxes.
That's not who the Rangers are targeting. The Rangers are targeting.
For 1 year, I think the Rangers have the cash and they would go for it.
So how much cash do they have? Because right now the Rangers are front runners for deGrom.
I could see them signing deGrom and Verlander to make a push for that division.
Both?
Yeah.
Both?
They signed Marcus. They signed 2 huge bats last year, and they gave, how much did they give John Gray last year? John Gray of the Colorado Rockies.
Let's bring up the Texas Rangers. Right now they have $89 million committed for next year.
Not enough. They're paying John Gray $15 million a year.
John Gray's $15 million.
John Gray, just so you know, was a Rocky. He was average at best, and they dropped him off with a nice $56 million 4-year guaranteed contract. That's for John Gray. Well, they added Corey Seager, and they added Marcus Semien from the Toronto Blue Jays. And they are pushing to get there. Now, both Seager and Semien did not have a good year. They did not have a good year at all. Now they're signed.
Well, they might just want to. They might just be settling in too.
They should settle in this year. Like Marcus had one of the worst couple months to start the year by a million. He's not that bad of a player. He is going to deliver. He's in his prime. So is Corey. So if you're the Rangers, you're looking at your team and you're looking at that division. Who is in that division with them? You have Houston, just won the World Series, wiped that division right out. You have Oakland, who has no players and trying to move to Vegas. So you have a huge gap.
Forget them. Yeah.
So then you have the Rangers, who are trying to make it in that division. Who else do you have with them that is going to dollar for dollar match what the Rangers want? And don't think for a second that the Houston Astros are what the Rangers want to be, because the Rangers want to be.
How high are the Rangers willing to go? Because if I go in and I buy Verlander for a year, I'm going to have to spend 40 plus.
So here's the Rangers. Here's the Rangers' biggest problem.
If I go deGrom,
Go ahead.
Because if I go deGrom, I got to go plus years at Scherzer money, which means I have to make deGrom a better offer than Scherzer, which means deGrom's getting 45 to 50 per year. So now I'm going in with a guy who hasn't played a full season in 3 years, and I'm going to give him 45 to 50 million dollars. Plus, I'm going to give Verlander 45. Yeah, $90 million on two pitchers.
With what they spent last year and what they have to spend, if you look at their team, Seattle had a great year, just a great year. The Angels continued to be a barn fire. They're 68-94 this year, and they by far needed pitching, and they're willing to spend on it. So they're going after deGrom. I can't imagine them not wanting to go after a Verlander, because that gives you your 1-2 punch. Then you got Jake, who's also there, who's from Tampa, and you also have Jake, and then you have John Gray. And so again, you have two aces in the hole. Now, can they afford that? To your point, that's what, 80 million, 70 million this year? You give them each 35 a pop? Because deGrom's going to want 45, right? His agent's going to say he's better than Max.
So they did. Yeah, they did 180. Yeah, he's got to get 45. So they did 181 last year was their payroll last year. It was 181 million. Do you think they're going more? Do you think they're going to 250?
I think this is the A-Rod time for Texas. Texas is going to go hard. You don't spend what they spent last year and then pull back, especially if Houston just won the World Series, because you're in Texas and you're not even talked about at all. And not only that, that's the worst part about that new darn stadium that they made, is that the Dodgers got to win a World Series in it. You didn't even get to do it. That hurts. Hurts the heart. Yeah, no, I like, if you think, you honestly think they're going to push hard for, that's what you're reading about with Jake. They're pushing hard for him. The Rangers.
Yeah, the press is right now saying that they're the front runners for deGrom, which I wish he would just finish his career in New York, but I get it. And truthfully, it's not like the guy performed in the playoffs for us. It's not like he pitched a lot in the last few years. It was just kind of nice seeing that level of performance. But I'm thinking about, you had Josh Bell in San Diego, who's from the Irvine area.
Right.
Him taking a look at Texas and being like, maybe I want to go there.
Right.
What's the need? Right? What's the need in Texas right now? Is it just pitching? Is it also offense? What's the story?
They could get both, but if you're going to go big on a pitcher like that, you can't just have one pitcher and say you're done. That's not what you can do. Now, shifting from Texas, I think Texas is going to be a barn fire. If they sign him, that's great. They're going to sign more people, but they sign one player like they did. They signed 3 big players last year. If they sign 3 more this year, that's a ton of money, and they're really going after it. But it doesn't mean they're going to make the playoffs.
That was two position players in a pitcher, right? That was the big money last year.
Yes, huge position players. They spent a ton on those two. This is why I was like, get Trey Turner down there. They can spend more money. But again, everybody has a cap. To your point, the Mets want to do $300 million. I want to talk for a moment, because at SwingBadder we like to focus on the really, really crap teams doing crap things. By far, the crappiest of the crap doing the crappiest of the crap things has got to be Colorado Rockies. The Rockies they finished, and here's the best part, they finished with identical records as the Texas Rangers. Now,
Oh,
if
God.
you have two teams that ownership is like desperate to do something, and by far the Chris Bryant move is my favorite. They get rid of Nolan Arenado because he just wants too much money and he wants to be on a contender, and we're just going to let him go. We're going to pay the Cardinals to take him. So Arenado's on the Cardinals. The Rockies then sign Chris Bryant. So if you add Arenado to Chris Bryant to the Rockies payroll, and the best part
We talked about this previously. That is just, $44 million in 2023 of just classic turd sandwich.
I believe this is the last year they have Charlie Blackmon on the books. He's 36. Yes, this is his last year on the books for them, which is good for Colorado to get him off the books because there's nothing but a DH for him that you can deal with. And
right.
They're just they have a ton of money, but they are in a division. If you were talking about a division you don't want to be in as the Rockies, it's with the Padres, who have spent smartly, and they get great players back. Tatis is coming back. They get all those guys. And then you have the Dodgers, who we all know are not going away. Their farm system is unreal. I have talked to minor league scouts about the farm system. The Dodgers could literally field another major league team with their farm system without a problem. Will Smith, for instance, the catcher they have that's young, they have like two catchers in the minor leagues that could easily be pros, but they can't because they're being blocked by him. And then you have the Giants, who you believe you're talking about being in the talks of the talks. You're saying that you've heard that Aaron Judge is in talks for the Giants. The Giants are interested or maybe going after Aaron Judge, which if he goes to the NL West.
My understanding is that Aaron Judge, the Giants have said they're not going to be outbid financially for Aaron Judge. I can't imagine that because I'm an East Coast guy. I don't get it, but whatever.
So the NL West is going to be the Padres with Tatis and Machado, and the Dodgers are going to be, Mookie Betts. You have who's the Freddie Freeman?
So we talked about the NL West on a previous episode. Tell me, so in the Colorado Rockies right now with where they stand, they already have committed like over, I think like 117 million on their active payroll right now. What is the boneheaded move that they could make to just put a feather in the cap of this disaster that they're building up long term?
Remember my two players that were going to go boating together? First base.
Refresh me.
Eric Hosmer, who currently got dumped by the Padres. I could see the Rockies signing him and saying, well, he's a left-handed bat and they can't do the shift anymore, so we're going to sign him. And then I believe, I want to say it was Carlos Santana, but I can't remember which other first baseman it was that was going to go fishing with him. But there was another
Brandon Belt.
So if I'm one of those lefties and I'm I go take me over to the Rockies, they'll sign me, and they will. And the Rockies will get one of those first basemen. They probably will do an outfielder trade, but the Rockies, I can see the Rockies going out and grabbing someone that makes no sense whatsoever because they're not going to be in the playoff hunt. And I had a really good friend of mine who I met here in the Valley who was such a diehard Rockies fan, and I think it was 3 years ago. This is our year. And they never have a year. They never have a year. It's hard to get pitching there because of the altitude. The worst part is they committed to so many dollars. They don't know what they are. They're not a low-level team. They don't spend wise. They're not a farm team. They don't have a large farm system. So they don't have that. It's very, very confusing what they are. And then they spend money, and then their GM, I don't even know how long is their general.
I'll bet you know what? I will bet you they go after somebody like a Trey Mancini, 30 years old, and give him something like $20 to $25 million for like 5 or 6 years, and then are shocked when the guy strikes out this season.
Yeah, when he wasn't even utilized that much. So in 2020, I thought they just got a new one. Nope, it's Bill Schmidt he's been the GM. sadly, since 2021, which means he signed Chris Bryant, who didn't play at all this year. Chris Bryant did not play at all this year.
How crazy! What kind of story is that Houston dumps their GM and the Rockies have kept theirs around?
Right,
oh
yeah.
gosh!
But the thing is, it wasn't. I mean that who? So Houston's just going to go to their folks that were underneath him as the GM. Who is Houston looking at for their GM? Because the GM moves are big, but it just shows that Houston believes that they're built, and they have a deep farm system. I've heard as well. That they're built for the longevity.
Unless Dusty Baker has enough swag that he can pull, right?
Yeah, I just it's crazy that he's out. That the GM of and they parted ways with the general manager and the assistant GM right after the World Series.
Wow.
I don't even know if that's happened. I can't remember. I'd have to do a lot. We'd have to do some digging to see if that's happened before in baseball this soon. A week.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens with that, right?
Who are they going to get? Are they just going to bring in younger talent, or do they believe like the ownership believes that they're just better? That they were the ones making the trade, and the GM was just doing what they needed. I think the marriage. I think one thing that's certain is the Mets will definitely be a high. $300 million is not something that I don't think they would not be shy about going over with that GM. But the Mets,
absolutely.
The other swing batter team that I love every year has got to be the Angels. I've never seen a team be in the top 10 of payroll every year and be in the bottom of their division every year. And the worst part about all this is everyone talks about Trout being the best player in baseball. Trout is amazing. Trout's fantastic, and he has played 0 playoff games. He has not even sniffed the playoffs. We have no idea. We've never seen him in a clutch situation.
And listen, and they're not even talking. They're not even talking about going to the playoffs this year.
And how?
Because people came to them and they said, "Listen, you got to trade Ohtani," and they straight up said, "We're not trading him. If we're going to trade him, we're going to trade him at the trade deadline. We're going to pull a wait and see." If you're going for the World Series, how do you say like we're willing to trade Ohtani at the trade deadline?
Here's how long Trout's been in my brain for his contract years. So he's 31 coming this year. He's making a killing.
Oh, God.
He's got a $37 million deal every year. He's signed till 38 by the Angels. We have not seen him in a playoff, and I think I've watched him play forever. This is a 12-year, $426 million deal. So my question is, will a contract this year beat him? Judge won't in years because he's already 30. But will he beat that 426? I don't think so, but you never know.
Will Judge beat 426?
I could see 9 years, 450, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Absolutely, he's going to beat 426.
That's crazy talk.
Trey Turner's going to beat 426. I know you like the slide, but Trey Turner's going to beat 426.
That's crazy to me.
Why is it crazy? Why is it crazy to you? The Mets just paid Diaz $100 million.
I know.
How is that crazy to you? If you paid Diaz $100 million over 5 years, how is somebody like deGrom, who's 34 years old, not getting 5 years, $200 million? That's $50 million a year. It's $50 million a year.
Oh, another good signing for the Rockies, I just realized, is the Turner guy for the Dodgers.
Justin Turner. Yeah,
yes.
I was looking at that. He can resurrect his career in the low
put him at first base for the Rockies and just have him just shoot for the fences.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah, I don't see Trey Turner he's turning 30 this year. Like him and Judge if they were 26, 27 and wanted a 12-year deal, I could see Trey Turner. I don't see getting that much, but man, I'm telling you, the money is going to be wild this year.
But Trey Turner, you can lock him up for 7 years at $500 million. It's less than.
Well, you should be able to lock him up 7 years, $300 million.
Well, That might be a lot.
That's a ton of money.
Like the $500 million over 7 years might be a lot, right?
I just think what would be crazy if the Giants came and took him from him. But it'll be interesting. The other teams that I like to focus on that are just craptaculous. The Rockies are fantastic. The Rangers are always fun to watch. The Angels are a blast because it's amazing how hard they try and they don't even sniff it. And the thing is, the White Sox are right there. So I think.
What about the Tigers? We have not touched on the Detroit Tigers.
Well, they did fire their GM, and they did have one of the worst offseason signings ever. Their offense was abysmal this year, and they had who was my favorite little signer?
They got Miguel Cabrera. They got Miguel Cabrera going for $32 million next year. Guy's 40 years old. You want to talk about like long in the tooth?
No, Javier Baez was my signing.
Oh yeah, Javier Baez. Yeah.
Let's look at that contract. Let's reminisce. Let's go back in time. Did anyone think a 6-year, $140 million deal for Javier Baez was good? Anybody? I remember nobody would sign him, and then Detroit's like, we'll give him that money.
He was 28 when he signed it.
Oh, the GM just got ousted. Done. So, yeah, he signs Javier Baez. They have no offense. The Giants have no offense.
How is Javier Baez not resurrecting himself, though? Like, last year was the first year of that contract. He's got to come back.
He was terrible at the Mets in his last year, though. He wasn't good. He wasn't good. That year with the Mets, he had some of the best strikeouts in the history of mankind. 265. That was his. He's got to go back to hitting for average, and he's just not that. He's a great fielder, but, again, he's just his offense isn't there. So Detroit's another team. They're right there on the – they could do so many bad signings. Do you think the Phillies have it in them to sign any big pitchers or any big arms? They have all the bats. Are the Phillies going to try to get steal a Verlander? Do you think that's a possibility?
I think the Phillies signed Trey Turner and really just make just everybody's job in the National League East. They make the National League East a living hell for every single person not in Philadelphia. I think that's where Trey Turner ends up. I hate it. I absolutely hate it because then I got to deal with that guy. What's that?
You think they get another bat?
Just absolutely. Who's your second baseman right now in Philadelphia?
They are loaded.
Segura?
The Phillies are loaded. Yeah, he's gone. Segura's gone.
Yeah. So guess who they're going to sign?
I would be happy if I was the Mets to not get him because he literally cost the Dodgers several runs with his errors. But at least they're in the playoffs. These Dodgers get in the playoffs every year.
They need relief pitching. That was where they fell apart. I think their starting pitching is going to be okay, but I don't know, man. Trey Turner signs and joins Bryce Harper. That's sick, bro. That's sick. That's how they go back to the World Series right there.
Let's talk about some other fantastic, crappy teams. The teams that are just going to sign people just to sign people. So will Baltimore ownership want to start putting some money into this team?
What money? They don't have any money. Baltimore doesn't have any money. Why do you think Baltimore has money?
Fine. I'm wondering because they had a pretty good team and they have a younger team. Maybe you had a couple veterans. Kansas City's good for signing two really, really unpopular people. 2 or 3. That's what they do. And they have Salvador Perez. Why would they not trade him? You know how many teams would love Perez? He's such a solid person.
At $20 million?
He's
catcher at $20 million?
Way better than JT for the Phillies. He's getting the top.
Come on. Not defensively. No way.
The Twins are a joke.
No way.
Every year. Yeah, so my big winners that I want to follow this offseason are going to be the Texas Rangers. I want to follow the Cubs. We didn't mention the Cubs. The Cubs are like, they don't know what they are. They haven't figured this out. It'll be great to see your dad's take on that. I would love to see.
What do you think about the Pirates picking up Choi from Tampa Bay?
I thought he was on the decline, so that makes sense that the Pirates would get somebody else's crap.
But they didn't give up a lot for him.
No, but at the same time, the Pirates are like, such a classic uniform in a classic city with some classic players that just they just don't have it. And the thing is, that division they're in is not hard to take away. The Cubs stink. I mean, the Cardinals is pretty much it. They're the only ones that division trying.
Telling you, I don't sleep. The Cardinals are going to, the Pirates are going to start to make moves. Pirates are definitely going to start to make moves. So,
I mean, the Reds, the Reds aren't going to do anything. Milwaukee was right there this year, but they didn't do anything. They had a tough year. Yeah, so my teams for SwingBadder are going to be the Angels. I want to see what the Angels do. They always have money. The GM for the Angels has been with them since 2020. He came from the Braves. I was reading some history on him before the show. I like that, what he was able to come from and his kind of pedigree, but at the same time, the Angels just have not done anything. The Rockies are always going to be good. Brandon Belt, that's your team. Justin Turner. So who wants to go to the Rockies and hit another 25 home runs? I do.
Right.
Who's 35 and wants to add some more stats, get 2 or 3 more years out of it? The Rockies and Bill Schmidt, that's your guy. The other teams that are interesting to me in the offseason are definitely going to be what the Mariners try to do in the offseason after they had a great year. And the Rangers. I want to see the Rangers kick that up. I want to see the Rangers in the top 5 of spending. I think that Texas and Houston need to be up there. I mean, the oil money needs to flow. It needs to flow. So that's what we have for. I think this.
How about this? These are players that I want to know where they are going to. Players that I want to know where they're going to land. Right.
Okay.
Number one, Trevor Bauer. I want to know where Trevor Bauer is going to land. I want to know where. I want to know if Noah Syndergaard stays with Philly, or if he goes somewhere else. I want to see where Evan Longoria ends up, because somebody's going to pick him up and take a flyer on him. Joey Gallo, I think that contracted. I want to see where that one ends up.
Back to Texas.
There's a couple in there.
Bring him home. I want to see where the old relievers go, the ones that are washed up. Kenley Jensen, where you going? Chapman, where you going? Craig Kimbrell.
We started with relievers. Let's take a look at relievers real quick, and we'll close this out.
Perfect.
Before everybody zones out. Aroldis Chapman, where does he end up?
I think Giants, West Coast.
Craig Kimbrell.
Is he any?
I'll just read the names. You tell me where they go. Craig Kimbrell.
I like him going back to the Dodgers.
Okay.
Isn't he on the Dodgers?
Yeah, he was. Yep. What about
he wasn't bad on the Dodgers. He did not have a bad year.
Tell me, let me go by age here. We'll go through some of these guys.
Ooh, some oldies.
Darren O'Day from Atlanta. Does he even end up on a team?
Oh, absolutely. Is he lefty?
He's a 40-year-old righty.
Oh, 40-year. The Rockies they got him. Get him, Rockies. Get him now. Pick him up. 40-year-old reliever. He's going to get $10 million. Oh, this is so crazy how much money these guys are going to get. Hey, son, I want you to throw pitches. Like, just get 2 guys out. Get 3 guys out. You'll get paid till you're 40.
The oldest lefty out there is Blaine Hardy from Milwaukee. He's 30. He'll be 36 years old.
Now, he'll get a nice deal. I mean, again, serviceable lefty. Those are going to be worthwhile endeavors this year.
Yeah.
I think the other big key to me is where does Cody Bellinger go? You wanted to do relievers. I'm really interested in these left-handed bats. The shift going away really will help them. I think the left-handed bats are going to ask for more. If I'm Cody, do you do another 1-year deal? I would. I would probably do a 1-year deal for Cody and just prove my worth, get that batting average up, the on-base percentage up, and then sign your big deal.
I still think somebody like the Cubs picks him up for like 3 or 4 years at like $15 million.
I do like that. I do like that the Cubs going after him and the Ivy would be nice. The other thing is, do you think guys that are signed this year that are lefties, like a Bryce Harper, like how big of a jump does he have without the shift? Like how much better is his average? How much better is his hitting? I mean, you're talking about an elite at bat,
right?
Taking away the shift. I mean, he becomes absolutely like how much you can't. I don't think you can walk him because the Phillies lineup is loaded. I think the Phillies are more lethal next year. I think the Phillies are not competing for a wild card. I think they're competing for the division.
I think they compete for a division. I think the Phillies become big winners and compete for a division with Trey Turner. I think that team sticks around. Listen, they're going to re-sign Syndergaard. I think he's going to stick around there. He won't pitch against the Mets because he's going to opt out every single time. I got a sore arm or something like that. Wheeler will because he's a baller.
Wheeler will. Noah won't. Thor won't. Thor is not good.
Thor cut his hair. He's out. He's out.
Well, I mean, let's close this episode out. I think the best thing that we can say is where's Jansen going? He pitched with the Braves, just went from the Dodgers to the Braves. I think he's kind of lost his luster. I could see Boston picking him up. A nice 1-year deal, 2-year deal. Jensen.
Yeah, somebody else scrape around. Somebody else scrape around and pick him up.
The Chapman Jansen duo. That you get two for one special. Give them both $15 million and let them fight it out for it.
Whoever is paying those two guys $15 million deserves everything they get. Everything they get.
Did you hear that, Mets? Angels. We're talking to you. Talking to you, Angels. Angels.
You just had Diaz getting paid $20 million. That's for the best relief pitcher in the game right now. There's no. Who are you? $15 million for a relief pitcher? No way. I think the Suarez deal that San Diego made is more in line where you have like $9 million. His ERA was 2.27, something like that. That's in line with where you're going to be with relievers between the $9 to $12 million.
I want to see left-handed pitchers that were out of the game come back because the shift is gone. Like Greg Swindell, the Diamondbacks want you. We missed you. We know you're 45. However old you are, we need you back because we need a lefty pitcher to help us with the shift. And then watch him get blown up.
How much do you think Kershaw's getting from the Dodgers for 1 year?
35. 30. 35 to 30. What was he getting last year? What was his salary last year?
His salary last year was like 33.
We can play this game all year long.
It's pretty fantastic. I think he's last year was at 17.
He gave him a bargain because of his back and everything. That's interesting. Yeah. He really hasn't. He really didn't. He had some really great years.
Yeah, it was like 30. Yeah, 30, 33, and then 23.
Yeah, he's had some really good years.
14 and a half. You sign him for a year at what, 20?
Well, here's the question. Does he get like $15 million and a $15 million signing bonus at this age?
Yeah.
I mean, just to say, he's going to retire as a Dodger. He's not leaving the Dodgers. They're going to have a deal. They're all going to be happy. He's not leaving the Dodgers.
You could incentivize him. What do you incentivize him?
You don't do that to him. You wouldn't do that to him. After everything he's done for your team, no. No way.
Yeah.
No way, no how. All right, that's what we can wrap this episode up. I want to thank you very much for all the insights. I think the big thing that we know at the end of this offseason, the Rangers are going to be the winner. I think we both decided they are going to go and spend another $150 million and go after it.
Real quick, though, I wanted to highlight two of my favorite Twitter personalities in baseball, which is Len Dykstra and Jose Canseco.
Lenny Dykstra. Oh, Lenny was so great. If you did anything in work as hard as Lenny Dykstra did, chewing tobacco while he was waiting for a pitch, you're going to be successful.
Absolute best. Absolute
you're going to be
best.
Successful. Yeah, I think they should run for office. I'd like the Lenny Jose presidential run 2024. I think I'm on that ticket. That's my ticket.
So, but did you see Dykstra's tweet about the World Series and the Phillies?
Was he?
He said the Phillies started losing as soon as Joe Biden showed up. Dr. Joe Biden showed up at the stadium. And then Jose Canseco's been advocating over Twitter for Aaron Judge to get out of New York. He says it's toxic. And he said, oh, and by the way, Judge, I can hit a softball farther than you can hit a baseball.
See, Jose's like a light form. God, Jose is Trump for baseball.
Oh, jeez.
Is he actually talking smack to Aaron Judge?
He's talking smack to Aaron Judge. He's like, I can hit a softball farther than you can throw a baseball. Reach out to me and let's make it happen. They want to actually.
This is so great. Why, Lenny and Jose? That's what our country needs.
Yeah.
Let's just make trash talking normal again. Let's bring.
We're gonna do that. We're gonna do that as a. I really want to come up with like best baseball tweets from like ex-baseball players who just don't care anymore.
I mean, geez, there's got to be a lot more of them with all these deals. Walking away. You pay me this much money, I'm going to be able to speak my mind. And the older you get, the more it flies. The more it just flies.
Absolutely.
This was a great episode. Lenny Dykstra and Jose Canseco. I look forward to your 2024 run for a presidential election. Because why not?
Yeah.
Twitter, make it happen. Twitter world, that's it. Start making it happen, everybody. All right, I am your host, Brendan. That is my eldest, Todd, Thanks for joining us at SwingBadder Podcast. That's BADDER. Appreciate you for listening, and tune in next time. That's episode 9, and we're wrapping that up. Thanks, Todd.
Love you, bro.